I'll say it again. I've been like a broken record. No stakes, no character arc. So how do you go into a finale where you haven't really established really strong, consistent themes? You really haven't created a strong arc. You say every once in a while she's trying to be this and trying to be that, but the episodes don't run together. Like there's no continuity between the episodes of her trying to be the She-Hulk and this lawyer as well. So I was thinking, how do you do that? It's kind of like asking, how did you do the finale of Seinfeld? You guys probably don't remember this.
I know. I remember it vividly.
How do you put together of Seinfeld? Was the show about nothing? No lessons are learned. They said it themselves. So that's why it was a failure, right? Because you couldn't do a finale to a movie when no one's changed for 9 seasons. As brilliant as that show was, right? And even when they tried to do it again on Curb Your Enthusiasm, they tried to do it again. It failed again because there's just no growth. There's no arc, right? So I was wondering going into the show how they're going to do that. So here we are. It starts off actually rather serious. It's got her in jail. And the same thing, and then it's got she gets out, and she's a bit numb. I thought, okay, here's a bit of gravity. We haven't seen this kind of gravity. There's a bit of a mood here. There seems to be something wrong. Then, of course, she goes down. One thing leads to another. She ends up going into that hall, and of course, there's the Abomination doing his he's doing his speech. And then in comes Titania. The guy injects himself. In comes Hulk. And she says, this is not what this show's about. And I immediately went, correct. Absolutely correct. That is not what this show is about. So show us what it's about. And I'll describe the next fourth wall breaking thing as a bit of a sugar rush because it was amusing at the time. Like it was curious to see. Like you just kept wanting to see what was going to happen more. She goes out into the Disney lot. She goes into the big NDA, which was funny, non-disclosure agreement. Huge joke, because apparently it's like that. You've got to sign off all this stuff. And then I was in the writer's room, and then she goes and talks to Kevin, which we all know is. I was wondering like hell whether
are they going to really put Kevin there? Like
it's going to be 5 years, and of course they dodge it probably for the. Well, anyway. And then is this conversation?
He's not an actor. He said, "I'm not trying. I don't have time to be on your."
No, I don't think. Let's get back to that idea later. I don't have time, right? By Kevin Feige. That's an interesting point you say. So anyway, and then there's that really cool. It's everything's kind of clever and cool, but it's a sugar rush, right?
Mm-hmm.
She goes back to it, and when she goes back into the story, she's there on the lawn and there's everybody there. The sugar rush just drops and you just think, what the hell was that all about? Like, what's that got to do with anything? She says, I think she throws a couple of lines away at the end where she changes things and she tries to bring a point. But as far as the actual story, it did not really, to me, add anything to whatever story was trying to be told. It was fan service. It was gimmicky, and it was a sugar rush that as soon as you get out of it, you just went, well, the show finished, I just went, well, that was much to do about nothing. Like, I just thought that was just cheap, gimmicky fan service. And I later heard, I think you probably heard of it if you listen to, what's his name, Heavy Spoilers, that they rewrote that ending. That last episode got major rewrite, and they absolutely looked like it. It absolutely looked like they'd run out of ideas, or they painted themselves into a corner, and they just had to figure out a funny, cheating way to get out of it. I'm being cruel here, a bit cruel, but where all other Marvel series have at least. As you know, you can talk about different series. At least they tick the boxes of storytelling arcs and stuff, and giving us something. This one just said, "Can't do this." They put themselves into a hole that they couldn't get out of, and they just took this real cheap way out of it. And and I was like, "Oh, this is a low point for me for Marvel." This is well, again, I said it with Thor: Love and Thunder. It felt like a third or fourth draft script. It didn't feel like a complete, fleshed out script where there are ideas in Thor: Love and Thunder. Lots of interesting ideas about children, responsibility, and mortality and death, and all. And none of it really comes together in a really satisfying way. This one had ideas in there, but it was not cooked up properly. It wasn't done properly. And, now we've had two, I think, pretty half-baked efforts, which are like, no, this is looking worrying. Now we've heard that Blade has been put off.
But that was just because of the director thing. And to be honest with you, it might actually be a good thing that it's because it gives you time to cook.
Or there's the theory going around is Feige has stretched himself really far here, and now we're seeing a bit of a dip in quality. If you like, take a look at WandaVision, then take a look at this She-Hulk. It's out there. Like, people are now saying now I'm not saying the whole thing's falling apart, and I'm not even saying this was never going to happen, because to me, nothing's good forever. Like, you always have ups and downs in life. Your sporting team could never win forever. But I'm wondering, and that's why I said to you last week, Wakanda Forever, there's big shoes to fill. This has got to bring it out, because I feel that with this She-Hulk, Thor: Love and Thunder, we've seeing a bit of a dip. And now with this, this Blade thing is however it happened, someone said, this doesn't happen in Marvel. This happens in DC. This doesn't really happen in Marvel, because that was announced a long time ago that this Blade thing was happening. And so I'm kind of blown this open to be more than just to talk about the finale. But it's all pointing in concerning directions. And not the end of the world, but anyway, I'll throw it over to you, Gift.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to hit these piece by piece. So first off, with the season as a whole, with the series as a whole, I thought the series was successful. I keep hearing a lot of people go, we thought it was mid, it was inconsistent. And even for you saying there was no story arc, but for me, I'm like, I thought I saw the clear story arc in terms of the actual character, which was, I'm just trying to live my life. I don't want the responsibility of being anything but a lawyer. And all I want to do is just be a lawyer. And to the end where I'm going to be a lawyer, but my law actually has a purpose to it. And I also have to take the responsibility that I do have to be a hero sometimes in my actions. And I felt like that was consistent in the fact that we were trying to watch how she literally was basically moving from being an introvert lawyer to actually having to be proactive because of this situation that existed for her, something that took her out of her comfort zone. And we're constantly watching her having to be out, whether it was having to be on the news, having people attack her, having to deal with her friends and past friends at the wedding, having to now deal with this slew of different types of powered people around, and recognizing that she has to be a basically literal and figurative representation for them, while also simultaneously having to maintain and actually really uphold the fact that as a human being, she actually is valuable, not that she's only valuable because she's got power. Like, she didn't become worthy because she had powers. She was worthy and she happened to have powers. Because even before that, her worthiness was only based on the fact that her cousin was Hulk himself. So I felt like this arc in general was establish Jen Walters as a valuable person. She knows she's a valuable person, and she adds value also as She-Hulk because she gets to represent both sides equally. So I felt like that character arc ended up existing throughout it, and every little point was created. The other thing was, I felt this show's entire purpose was about creating segues for other IPs, which we know Marvel is known for doing that anyways. But this time we weren't relying on a post-credit scene to do it, which is something that people literally complained about before. There's a whole series setup of what was happening in the show that didn't tell you about what was going on next if you took out the end credit scenes. So each movie just displaced in it of itself, but it didn't actually set up initially in the first two and a half phases. And so I felt like this show was like, no, what we're going to do is, because we have someone who has to represent powered people, we're going to have this actually also give us the eggs, not eggs where it's just people getting to see and fan service, but literally we are creating our branches so that we can continue to expand this Marvel universe more and more, because we need to have a reason why people need to either be afraid or not afraid, which we kind of saw the example in the previous episode with everyone getting scared. We need to understand why people are either fed up with power people, or maybe the Avengers are not going to be as popular because it's not the original 4, not the original 5. We need a reason to expand past this cast that is going to contract out, not even just 8, like they're going to be too expensive to be able to maintain over time. So we need to have a reason to open up this world for more people while also making it fun, while also still making it make sense to the reality that we're in. So it doesn't seem overly chaotic, but it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel chaotic. So I felt like this was one of those shows where I was like, yo, we need to pass through. And then, of course, we need to also set up this other villain subset that we have to now present for Quantumania, and we also need to present for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America, New World Order, because now we have an underlying enemy on top of the overlying enemy of Kang, on top of what we have to do. Because remember, at the beginning of this phase, I had even said, and I think they're proving the fact, we have multiple layers of environments that we have to now effectively take into consideration. We have our ethereal range, we have our space range, we have our sky range, we have our earth range, and we have our earth in neighborhood range. Yeah, our street level, world level, space level, God level. And I feel like, again, to some extent, and then of course our multidimensional level, which can be within that magical, somewhere in that magical between ethereal and space, somewhere around there. So it's this show needed to find a way to create the normality of existence while also setting these things up. So I felt like it did that. So when it came to how these episodes played out, yeah, we could have gone Titania, but I think, again, another reason they did this show was to break habits that people always thought. I think this was the first show that was purely created for the internet, created by the dialogue that the internet provided us. And I think it speaks whether people like it or not. The more people that dislike it perfectly emblemates how much people don't need to talk about what they know or don't know about how the Marvel universe should go, because they literally gave us everything that they always said. They stopped us on the habit. Remember, one of the things that was complained about for literally 4 shows straight, which obviously they described it within this episode, was penultimate episode was always the most character driven. You get the most context, you get the most information on the character, and it seems to be the most meaningful. And then the last episode is CGI battle. We did this multiple times down. Well, the penultimate episode was not the greatest character episode. It was simply another episode. And when we were about to do this CGI battle, which they're absolutely correct, it would have not made any sense for that guy to get Hulk powers like that, whenever the entire concept that we just started off with was the Hulk blood could kill you unless you have some genetic predisposition to be able to handle those gammas. The guy doesn't have the genetic predisposition. He's just a guy,
It's just a dork.
Right. So for him to now be able to go dude bro into Hulk mode, which was, I'm not gonna lie, I got physically ill whenever he started going like, yo man, let's do this, bro. I'm like, is this what we're doing with Hulk? We want, like, you guys hate Professor Hulk, and if anybody accepts this guy, I'm punching him in the face.
Oh well, we don't have to. He's
and I'm glad they killed it.
You got to take him out.
I'm absolutely ecstatic that they killed it quickly because it wouldn't have made sense. And then the Hulk coming down, though, and I'll be honest, I was a little actually disappointed with the Hulk appearing at all again, because now instead of me getting a wonder of what he's doing in Sakaar and then being revealed at the eventual World War Hulks and actually getting that explanation, now I have to be like, okay, well, now we're sandwiched between these two elements. And I am deathly afraid of getting moody, basically teenage baby Groot in Hulk form.
Oh, okay.
I kind of agree with that. Like, he just left, and now he has a teen son all of a sudden. Like, that was quick.
Yeah, I want that saved. Like, this is where I go. You save that for the movies. That's big screen stuff, not this one. You know, and so. To the effect of then coming to what the actual episode provided, I do think that I like the twist. The only issue that I had with it is that I wanted to know more, like rewind us back to you entering into the Incel Tavern, and instead of us just appearing outside and Ian is being arrested and Abomination guy, Emil is, doing his penance, and all of a sudden Daredevil drops in. I want to see you rewrite that product, almost very Matrix X, where since they were already going in that direction, I want to see that play it. And that's the part where I go, like, that's the issue of doing a recent reshoot, because I want to see you actually get to that point. You stopped him from taking the Hulk blood. Josh, the guy who stole your blood, got his comeuppance. The Hulk doesn't need to exist in this. Abomination doesn't need to, he becomes small and does a thing. But I want to see that play out after you've done all this talking. And then we can go to the outside and it all comes together and Daredevil appears and the picnic scene, which I actually like. I think this might be one of the few times that we see Daredevil as happy, because after this, we kind of need to start to see him go back into moodiness. Again, he's been happy for too long. 2 episodes of happiness is more than I needed. One episode was great. He smashed. He did everything he's supposed to. Second episode.
Walk of shame.
Exactly. Next, we need to go. So for me, I truly liked She-Hulk more than I liked Hawkeye. And Hawkeye is not a distant 4th or 5th to me, but I like She-Hulk more because I felt like it was literally more connective than Hawkeye. And also I don't like Kate Bishop. So it was just like I did it. It's not as good as Miss Marvel, but and I'm saying bottom 2 shows, but that's not saying much because there's not that many shows. But like I thought that it did a good job in connecting all its pieces and being consistently inconsistent.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe!
Subscribe!
I got it, God. Oh, God.